Hey, everybody. Woo! How we doing? How we doing? You know what we do. Every Sunday night at this time is Brother Steve live at 5-ish. Well, we're supposed to go on 5. You know how we do. We do live at 5-ish. We ain't worried about all that stuff, y'all. We're glad to see everybody on our program today. It's going to be good. It's going to be good. I'm waiting for it to propagate on YouTube. So all our YouTube family is on our show right now. So we're waiting for our YouTube people to pop up. Facebook Live, we get ready to be live on Facebook in about 1 minute and 13 seconds. So we are excited. We are, woo, there we go. The people are logging in. Share. Oh, yes, we are. Oh, my Lord. We talking about this. We talking about that. What's really going on in America today? Well, I can tell you, but I can show you better than I can tell you. You ever heard that before? I can show you better than I can tell you. Well, we're going to have a good show today. We know we have a little time delay, but the saints are logging in. Oh, my Lord, people are already commenting already. We ain't been on here but 1 minute, and they commenting already, okay? So we're going to go through this. We're going to get everybody in. We're going to praise the Lord, super Jesus, have a good time and everything. We need you to share this video. We need you to share this video on today, all right? I need 2 people, 3, 4, 5 people to share this video. I need 5 more people to share this video. Right now, we are live today. The ladies, we've been talking about the men, and the men been talking, but we're going to talk about the ladies today. We're going to have the ladies. They got something to say. Women in leadership and ministry got something to say on today, and we're going to bring them in. We're going to have all that good stuff and good fun. All right, Brother Steve from Hollywood, California. We're having a great time. And the floor is open for comments now. Put your comments, put your suggestions in there. And we're going to try to get everybody in, everybody. We got a great lineup. The lineup is the greatest. And my spiritual mom is with us today. Oh, my goodness. I've been waiting. Oh, Ghana. The saints in Ghana is watching us right now on Facebook. Share this. If you in Ghana and you got Bookface or Facebook, whatever you call that thing, share it. If you like it, whatever, share it. Get the word out there. Share it. We want to see y'all out there, and we are so excited. We got a great lineup today. We got a wonderful lineup. We are excited about everybody on our broadcast today. We want to hear about you. We want to hear from you, okay? So let's crank this up, Brother Steve. The ladies in gospel, the ladies in ministry with us on today, and we thank God for each and every one of you today. Now, let me say this. People have asked me already, and don't forget to share it on our YouTube channel. That's my YouTube page right now. Let you know that we have technical delays today because we have so many people on. So just read our lips and hear our voices, all right? We're going to do what we do and say what we got to say and have a good time, okay, today. Don't forget, if you like to be a blessing to our ministry, people ask me, where is it? How can I do? Well, here's our Cash App right there. Our Cash App is right there on the screen. If you Cash App us a blessing, as I tell it every week, we bless others, okay? So I'm not here to pay off the car note, the rent, or buy cars. No, we're good. But we use that as a ministry to bless other folks, okay? Thank y'all so much for coming on. Share this video. Let's get things started. Brother Steve today, live at 5, and here we go.
From Hollywood.
Yo, DJ, are you done mixing yet?
Your DJ has only just begun.
Hello, I'm Bishop T.D. Jakes, and you're watching Brother Steve TV.
Hey, it's LaToya Luckett, and you're watching Brother Steve TV.
This is Rance Allen, and you're watching my friend, Brother Steve TV.
Hey, y'all, this is Leandra Johnson, and you're watching Brother Steve TV.
Hi, this is Rodney Gottschalk Jerkin. This is Chris Tucker. This is Kirk Franklin. And you are watching Brother Steve. And you're watching Brother Steve. Brother Steve TV. Stay tuned.
From Hollywood, California, you're watching Brother Steve TV.
Hands up! LA! Scream!
Hands up, hands hands up and said hands up. LA scream. Hey, we having a good time today. Brother Steve live from Hollywood, California. The ladies in ministry, leadership, and gospel. We're going to just crank this thing right up. Bring them on the show right now. I'm so grateful to have one of my dear friends with me, Pastor Patina. How you doing, Pastor, out there?
All right. I'm good, Brother Steve. How are you and be here?
I'm good. I'm glad to see you. You know we got a technical delay, but we're going to keep going on. First of all, I want to say to you, happy birthday. You thought I forgot? Today's your birthday. Happy birthday, Pastor Patina. Amen to you. Good to see you out there. I'm glad you're doing well out there. What's going on with you in New York? How are you enjoying your birthday today?
What's going on? Everything is going on. This has been a fantabulous season. God is doing some great things out here on the east end of Long Island. Most people, when they think of New York, they think of Queens and Brooklyn and Manhattan and Harlem. But I hail from Long Island, New York, out where the deer and the antelope play. So God is doing some great things here, here at Galilee Church of God in Christ. And we have some great people who love God. They love the ministry. And they are committed to the cause of Christ.
Amen. Happy birthday. God bless you, Galilee. I know Galilee is out there watching our broadcast right now. So you from Galilee, I know Pastor want to make sure that you are connected on our broadcast right now. Let's go to Houston, Texas. Pastor Bridget Hill. Pastor, how you doing today?
I'm doing fine. How are you, Brother Steve?
I'm doing good today. So how is your Sunday going today?
Very busy. I've knocked out 3 services today, so I'm back at it.
So, Pastor Bridget, I'm gonna kick this off with Pastor Bridget. I know Pastor Bridget is sharing it right now to her friends on her page. Pastor Patina sharing the video right now. The Saints and friends are already commenting right now. We got another Facebook one out there saying hello. Oh, Pastor Dana is out there watching our broadcast. We're gonna get her in the broadcast too out there. She's watching our broadcast out there today. That is a powerful woman right there in ministry. And God bless you. And happy Sunday to you out there, our good Facebook users out there. And Bishop Corley said, happy day, happy life day to Pastor Patina. So all of y'all, we're glad to see y'all. So let me kick this off. It's going to get good in just a moment, but let me say this to you. Pastor Patina, Pastor Bridget, you know what? I got to make it gooder. I got to go all the way to my hometown in Cleveland, Ohio, to bring in my dear friend, Pastor Sabrina Ellis out there. Pastor Sabrina, how you doing today?
I'm doing good, Brother Steve. How you doing?
I'm good. So now I got all 3 of our powerful pastors on. How are you all dealing with the pandemic? You all can just answer when you're ready. But how are you all dealing with the pandemic, the churches being closed down, and what's your plan when you reopen? Now, some of you all may have reopened. Some of y'all had service today preaching, but how are you dealing with this pandemic and ministering to your people?
Well, we did.
I'll go, if you don't mind. I'll just say, trying to hold things down, stay connected to the congregation. We have not actually gathered since March. So we've just been doing the virtual services and reaching out to the membership via Zoom. About a week ago, we had a membership Zoom fellowship where we all got to just see each other and talk to each other, as many of those who would come on. But we are trying to be as cautious as we possibly can. I feel like everybody, every pastor, every leader has to do what's best for them. It has been disheartening to listen and see so many people either judging or condemning leaders for the choices and the decisions that they have to make. But when I know that over 55% of my congregation is over the age of 55, I think I should be careful and not bring people back into those close quarters until we figured out what social distancing in church is going to look like. And so I'm just trying to hold it down in Cleveland as best I can in this pandemic. As I say to most of my friends, I got up off my knees on February 1st, being installed as the pastor, and walked right into a pandemic situation. So the pandemic has been my pastorate.
Pastor Bridget, Houston, Texas, how you doing? What you doing with your congregation, Pastor Bridget? What's your perspective?
Well, we went into a new facility in the midst of COVID. So it just kind of hit us as we had just closed the deal on our new spot, and then we were hit with it. So we stayed out. We went back in Mother's Day, actually. We went into a brand new facility on Mother's Day. But what I did was I limited the number of chairs that we put out, and we divided the church up in sections. So for those who, you know, have special needs, they have an area they can sit with maybe, you know, just them or maybe another person. Everything you can imagine I have, from gloves to masks to hand sanitizer, is throughout the church. And so we have actually one senior, and so we are just really loving on her in a major way. But what we did for the membership as a whole during this time, we've gone out. Well, I've gone out, and another young man, we've gone out masked up, gloved up, and for the last couple of weeks, we fed the membership. We went out and that was just, you know, just to let them know that we're with them, showing them love, and they didn't have to cook for about 2 weeks. So, so, you know, we've been trying to do things to that's our way of connecting to each other, to make sure that we are, just to let them know that we love them and we care about them.
So, I mean, I'm going to try to get to Pastor Bettina. Can you hear me, Pastor, out there? I think her camera's a little frozen. We're going to have to try to reconnect her up a little bit. She's going to come back and join us in just a few minutes. But let me go to Pastor Membership Church Great Leader, Dr. Dana Tyler out there. Dr. Dana, how you doing? You're there with us. How you doing? There she is. There she is. Hey, Dr. Dana, how you doing?
I'm fantastic, right. But let me correct you. I am not a senior pastor. I am a lay minister. Bishop Mark Moore Sr. at Faith Covenant Church. Don't press me into that too soon, sir.
She said she's a lay associate pastor. So, Dr. Dana, but you work with ministry for so many years as a woman in leadership. What good advice can you give out to our other pastors, men and women, as they prepare to go back into fellowship and worship in the sanctuary?
I would say listen to the Lord. Don't let the White House pressure you into going back too soon, and take all the necessary precautions. But all of the pastors that I know are, they're re-entering cautiously and making sure that you take all of the necessary precautions to take care of your people. But one thing I will say about this pandemic, it has created a lot of creativity in how we do ministry. And I think even when we do re-enter the building, I think we'll still be doing a lot of hybrid in-service, in-person services, as well as streaming, like that. This has become the new norm. This will probably always be a part of the way we do church.
We know you wrote a great book out there for people out there who are dealing with being single and dating and other great things. And tell us the title of that book real quick.
So my primary ministry has been with singles ministry. Almost 10 years ago now, I lost my husband to a motorcycle accident, and I sort of inherited the singles ministry. So I actually started teaching. As I became single again, I noticed that the particular people in my congregation needed a little bit more direction when it came to dating and to develop realistic expectations in marriage, because they had these fairy tale ideas about what marriage was. So I actually developed a program called Kingdom Courting University. So the book is called Kingdom Courting, and Kingdom Courting University is a series of weekend retreats. I like to provide singles with a safe space to come together, to converse, to connect. Many of the people who have attended our retreats have ended up getting married, and they're staying married, which is wonderful because we don't just talk about finding the right spouse, but we talk about becoming the right spouse.
So before we, because I know Dr. Tyler has to run, but before we go, what words of advice could you give to those single out there watching our broadcast during this pandemic? Is there a new way of ministry? Because you said something the other day on one of your interviews, and I believe you said dating is one thing and courting is another thing. You know, I remember some things, but what advice would you give to singles who now you can't go to church and see that special one again? You can't go to Dr. Sabrina in Cleveland and walk up in PCC. You can't go to Houston, Texas, and walk up in the new facility. Not this week. You know what I'm saying? But what words could you give to those out there who are watching our broadcast right now?
I think social distancing is making it safer for you to date and get to know people and court in a way that is pleasing to the Lord. And I would just say this: be as cautious about the people that you meet and connect with online as you would in person. Let your discernment be increased, let your wisdom be increased, and don't let this isolation and this loneliness pressure you into being in a relationship that God has not designed for you.
Do you think, another question came in, do you think that people mentally, this is weighing on them where they become desperate and they jump too quick and too fast? So what do you think about that, Dr. Tyler?
Absolutely. I think just isolation is not good at all. I know with some limitations, we can connect with the people in our immediate vicinity. But if you're like me, my family's actually from California. So I am homesick like crazy right now. And, I'm just itching to get on a plane. So I can only imagine those people who are looking at this pandemic a little differently. Sometimes the financial pressure may want you to, it may pressure you into being in a relationship, but I would definitely say, hold on, don't, do what you can. If you need resources out there, there are resources for people to talk to you, to keep you from staving off all that depression and the anxiety of being alone during a time like this, because it's difficult.
Dr. Tyler, give out your website where they can reach you, or email where people can find you on Facebook. And we want to thank you so much for coming on our program today to give us that wonderful insight. And you're a blessing to other single pastors out there, men and women. You'd be surprised at some of the phone calls I've gotten from some men that says, Brother Steve, now you know some friends. All right, amen, praise God. What information can you give out there so people can reach out to you?
Thank you so much for having me on, Brother Steve. It has been a complete honor. You can reach me at discoverkcu.org. All of my information is there. All of the books that we've written are there. All of the services that we provide are there.
Thank you, Dr. Dana. You can hang out in the back office there. We want to go to our good friends, Pastor Patina. She's back from New York, Pastor. She got a good connection now, Pastor. How you doing out there on your birthday?
I'm back, sir.
All right. So what precautions?
My apology.
Oh, don't worry about what precautions are you taking right now for your congregation? What precautions are you taking for your congregation right now, Pastor?
Well, okay. I'm doing what most churches are right now. We're just having via Facebook Live. I have a high population of octogenarians, a lot of senior citizens. So I've told my church family, we're not going to gather anytime soon until I know for certain that they are safe. So we do have a big enough edifice to have social distancing, but I think there's just way too many unknown variables before we start bringing people together. So basically, I have maybe a crew of about 7 or 8 people that do technical. We do Facebook Live, and the church stays connected via our Zoom Bible study, and I make sure that I send out calls and text messages. So we've been able to stay connected that way, and I can honestly say One of the for my father passed away about 4 years ago. He told the church many years before he really got sick, he said, stay connected. And he kept saying it, he kept saying it. And we understand that some now 4 years later, what he meant by the importance of us staying connected, that there'll be a time where you won't be able to connect physically, but you'll be able to connect spiritually and socially, and as far as ministry is concerned. And the church has been absolutely positively, when I say amazing, I am absolutely surprised at the older generation that has been able to kind of connect via the update technology. So, my whole premise is to make sure that everybody stays safe. We can minister the word and praise God where we are in our homes. But the important thing right now, our Bishop Frank Anthony White told us to stay in the ark. And that's where we're going to stay until we realize or have a real concrete plan as to how we transition. But church as we know it, I think is forever changed.
Before we're going to put you in the waiting room because we got two more great people we're going to bring on. Before you go, what challenges have you had as the senior pastor now of your father's church?
It's been a good tradition. May 26th made 1 year, so I just celebrated my 1 year pastoral anniversary. And coming from a very traditional church, having a female pastor on the east end of Long Island in a Kojic church was kind of unheard of. But again, my bishop saw fit to kind of open the door by the Lord. And we had some little transition, but it's been a year, and the people have acclimated, and they've on the bandwagon who were like, agree, now saying, we're glad you're our pastor, So it's been a transition, but I can honestly say that God has been in the midst of us, and he's given us support. He's given us mentors, and he's given us wisdom in terms of how we transition moving forward. So I'm humbled. If you had told me 4 years ago that I would be the pastor of my daddy's church, I would say, you out of your mind, you crazy. But here we are. I'm grateful to have it.
Well, we're going to go to Dr. Sabrina Ellis and then to Pastor Hill. But before I go to Dr. Ellis, what challenges would you face? What words of advice could you give to other women in leadership, pastoral women out there in ministry dealing with being the pastor of the church?
Well, as I said earlier, my role as senior pastor is fairly new. I've served as the executive pastor for about the last 15, 16 years. But I think the challenge now is basically keeping the people connected and just wanting to make sure that we're touching as many as we can. And so we have a system in our congregation that has worked for the last several years, and that is what parishes where we're divided according to alphabet in the congregation, and there is an elder who sees over each group. It's about 6 groups, I believe it is, and so they help me to stay connected. They check on the members, they see about the members, and they find out what the needs are. We also have done the Zoom meetings as well. But I think that is the greatest challenge, is staying connected, because, and especially with the senior members who just are not going to do social media. They're just not going to do this technology thing. It's enough for them to have a cell phone, and they're not doing all this other stuff. So I found myself literally, especially for Mother's Day, sending out cards, actually sending cards to the mothers so that they actually receive something from me. They don't get to see me because they're not on Zoom, or they don't get to, reach out to me. My husband and I actually went to the widow of my husband's predecessor today. We just decided to just go to her house. I talked to her yesterday, and she was just really struggling with the fact that she cannot see us, and she can't see, at a certain age, their seniors, all they have is church. And so they look forward to that every Sunday gathering, and they don't have that anymore. And so I've been consistently praying for those who are not handling staying at home so well. I think there are a lot of emotions and really a lot of mental stress that's coming out of this that we're going to really need to be praying for and be concerned about as we move forward.
Dr. Hill.
Who would you like to send it to?
Well, my advice would be to stay innovative. I pastor the New Birth Evangelical Church here in Houston, and we're 8 years old. My overall time for pastoring is about 20 years. I've learned that staying innovative, it's paid off because again, staying connected, as Pastor Ellis already stated, is very, very important, because when this pandemic first hit, the very first thing I did was send out cards. 2 weeks later, then I did care packages. After that is what I just told you about, was the 2 weeks of dinners to everybody. And so I've tried to come up with something, that's keeping me safe, and those who are working with me, my team, safe, or try to come up with different things. So now I'm thinking of the next thing to do to stay connected to them. Now, in regards to, we are every Tuesday, we have TNT, which is Facebook Live, our Bible study. But before the pandemic, we'd already been doing it a year or two. And before that, we're using free conference call from the inception of the church. So we were already doing this as far as the Bible study is concerned. We were just coming together for church. For those seniors who cannot, they don't have Facebook, I just call them. I have a separate phone. I call them, and I just put them on speaker, mute them, tell them to mute their lines rather, and they're able to listen in. And I have other members who are doing the same thing. If they have loved ones who, aren't Facebook savvy, if you will, they will go and call them and do a three-way call and bring them in so they can listen as well. So it's innovation is definitely the way to make things work, but you've got to stay creative. And I'm hearing a lot, Brother Steve. I'm hearing of members leaving churches even at this time because they feel like their pastors don't care. They're not calling, or they're not checking in, or, and I'm hearing a lot of that. So it's important that you stay connected to your membership.
Well, speaking about staying connected, I'm going to go to Stockton, California, because you got to bring in, before I go to Maryland, I got to go to Stockton, California, and bring in one of my dear spiritual moms. She's the one that's been preaching, ministering longer than some of us have been around. Okay, no, she ain't been doing that long. The one only Dr. Wanda Davis. Dr. Wanda, how you doing?
I'm fine, thank you, Brother Steve.
Dr. Wanda, what words of wisdom, as one of our golden leaders, can you give to our ladies in leadership and ministry before we go to the next subject? You've been out there in the field a long time. You've seen it all. You've done it all, and you're still going strong. I mean, I just saw you a couple of weeks ago before this pandemic hit in LA, and the people were standing along the wall to hear you minister. What words of wisdom can you give just to any pastor out there watching right now? And as her stream went out right there real quick, we're going to get her back on the screen right there. But, it's just great information and great words of what people are doing out there. And Dr. Sabrina, I think you said it right, that you're staying in touch with the people. You're staying in contact with the people. You're moving forward with the people. You're helping the people. You're reaching out to them.
Yes, and what I appreciate about settings like this, what you've set up for us tonight, is I get to hear other people in ministry. Tonight, it's all women in ministry, and that's wonderful. That's awesome. But just trying to hear what other people are doing, just listening to Pastor Hill and Pastor Bettina, it also adds to what what I've already thought about. But then I get to hear maybe something that I didn't hear about. Tonight, I heard about the care packages. So I wrote that down. We all have to, truthfully, we don't just stay connected to our members, but leaders have got to stay connected. And I'm meeting new people, although it's virtually, it's still connecting. And I think it is so important. I've been saying it's ironic that COVID-19 is such a terrible disease and we've lost a lot of lives and it's scary. I get all of that. But there are some positive things that are coming out of this situation. Yeah. And if you just think about it, we're connecting in ways that we never thought we would connect. We're being innovative where we had not thought about being innovative. And Pastor Patina said, church will not look the same after this. I do believe we will gather again. There are those who are saying, well, we won't gather anymore. That's not even biblical. We will gather. It just won't look the same. But this part, this technology, this virtual, this is going to be here for a while. So we might as well get good at it.
Get good at it.
Get good at it.
Davis,
yes.
What words of wisdom can you give to our ladies in leadership?
Did you say Wanda Davis?
Yes, Dr. Wanda Davis.
I would tell you to be before the Lord. If you're not a senior pastor, also ask of your senior leader what you can do to help him or her. And then stay focused on what God has given you to do. For example, I'm hearing more from younger couples. And my road as a minister is a little different than some because of having traveled so many places. I'm so many people's mama. And they reach out to me for advice, wives and husbands. Pastors reach out to me for advice. Many of the pastors who we all think that pastors just have this special shot of energy that they get just because they're called pastor. And we don't realize that they need a break. We don't realize they need encouragement. And they need someone to send a card to them and say, you're doing a great job, don't stop. And I would say, those of us that are older, look at this season as a time to encourage other people. I'm very fortunate to share housing with one of my brothers and his wife. And she teaches school, but she has also for many, many years from the Midwest been a director of deaf ministry. So I've worked and seen how they have pushed even when they're on zero. I've watched some of the younger couples reach out to the seniors. That's very important to have, to work with your office and get a list of those people that are 60 and older that may not even have transportation and have someone call them. Do you need someone to go to the store for you? Do you need someone to pick up this for you? And I think just being a servant outside of the pulpit, instead of preaching the sermon, be the sermon. And that's what I've been learning to do. And that's what I've observed has seemingly been such a blessing to so many people, is when you are encouraging them and helping them. And it's a good thing that a few years ago, I did learn how to do that texting, because I'm able to send texts to people and say, I saw you. I saw Pastor Sabrina with another group of women that were meeting. And I sent texts. It doesn't matter if you hear back from them. You just do your role to send it out. And I told them I was so blessed at how they were carrying themselves and the things that they were sharing. Because when I look back to 1976, the year when I spoke the first time away from our local church, and it was a church of a different denomination. And I was so excited, but I had a blessed husband and he knew a lot about protocol. So he told me, this is what you're going to do. Don't do that. Do this. He said, when you go in, that church doesn't normally respect women in the pulpit. So don't let even an usher that thinks she knows what she's doing. You sit in the audience and let the pastor call you up. And I remember I was laughing about that earlier this week. The pastor told me, when you speak, you just go down and speak at the communion table. And I saw he was really frustrated, not just being mean, he was frustrated because of the protocol he grew up. So I told him, I said, sir, I can even stand in the church lobby. You got 20 minutes. I said, I can share what I have to share in 5 minutes. And he looks. And my husband had told me that. Bishop Wayne Davis trained me how to be a lady in other men's pulpit.
There you go.
And it worked. And then that man called other people. And he said, oh, she's not like those other missionaries just want to come in and take over your church. She's a real lady. And then he didn't know I was standing right outside his office hearing everything. He said, plus she's kind of cute to look at. I said, you're a little rascal. But the Lord used that man to open up Baptist and Methodist churches that I would have never had an opportunity. It was an incredible journey. And now you look back, all of what you've gone through. And even as a pastor, when my husband died, when I went from staff pastor to a senior pastor, and even went into a marriage that the new husband became the pastor, I didn't have any female pastor or minister came to me and say, Wanda, you haven't been single long. You need to wait. Don't get married yet. Nobody came to me. So I just said, well, I respected all of the women in the body of Christ. I said, if somebody had told me, maybe I wouldn't have done it so soon, because a lot of things transpired that were very painful and harmful to me and my membership. So now that I'm on the other side, I can tell others, take your time. Don't rush. And God may have given you a bunch of new ideas, but combine them with the former pastor so that the people won't think you're trying to bury your former leader and all of the good that he brought. So I just kind of try to be like a little mama in Zion.
All right, mama. So,
and I never thought I would say that.
Mama, before I go to Los Angeles, I got to go to the senior pastor of Bethel Restoration in Maryland. Now, this is one of my dear friends in the ministry right now. This is Pastor Zena. Now, she knows she's special because she's just special, y'all. She's a great pastor, a great woman in leadership. She also ran for mayor. She's into the government. She's a triple threat. And I want to talk to you what some of the challenges, before we get into the next topic about what's going on in America, but what challenges did you have to deal with as being a senior pastor and founder of your ministry?
Well, blessings to you, Brother Steve, and to all of the great women of God that are on the roster tonight. I bid you greetings from Mitchellville, Maryland, which is in Prince George's County, just outside of D.C. Certainly grateful for the opportunity. Dr. Davis said something that reminded me of when I first went to my pastor. I grew up Baptist, staunch Baptist. On my father's side, staunch Catholics. And I went to my pastor who had been in ministry in one church for 63 years. 63 years. That was the only pastoral position that he had ever been in. And I remember going to him and saying, Dr. Bowman, I feel a call on my life to preach. He had never released a woman in the 63-year history. And I took him to lunch. And he said, well, Zena, if Jesus could make a donkey speak, then who am I to block you from releasing the word of God? And like your response, woman of God, I said, well, amen. If you want to call me a donkey for the day, it doesn't matter to me as long as you release me to preach the gospel of Jesus Christ. And he became my biggest supporter. It's such a foreign place for him, but he began to, he was my biggest supporter. And there was nothing that I didn't ask of him that he did not honor. And And so I bless the Lord for all of you trailblazers that have really paved the way for people like me. I started my church 2 years ago on a wing and a prayer. And God has really, really kept me. And I'm so grateful to that. But, I just wanted to share a couple of things because, we're now all on the same, it's like an equal playing field. Whether you're mega or small, the way that this platform is set, your survival depends on the ability to have a level of technology that will draw your people to you and not serve church. I was speaking to a prominent female bishop friend of mine, Bishop Vashti McKenzie, and we were talking about the notion of this whole internet phenomena as it relates to our ministries now. And she said, girl, I had a friend of mine say, girl, I went to 6 services today. And that's the reality of where we are right now, is that people have an opportunity to pick and choose what word they want to hear at what time they want to hear it. And that's why the relevance of what we do in this day and time, it is so key. How we deliver, how we present ourselves, how we activate within the confines of our membership. And one of the things that I did immediately after all of this hit 2 weeks in, I did a Zoom meeting with my leadership first. And I did a live poll within my Zoom session to see where they were. How are you doing? How has COVID affected you? Are you in need of anything? Is there anything that we can do to help manage what you may be going through better? And then I did the same the following week with my entire membership. And so I just, the technology I use, in case you're interested, it's called Mentimeter. And Mentimeter literally allows you to do live polling while we're talking right now. And so the members were able to share if they were depressed, if they were suicidal, if they were going through changes, all of these questions that I provided to them so that I could hear their heartbeat and know how to take active measures to see what can we do to ensure that our people are touched. And so from that, I matched up members. I took all of the leaders and we pulled out our church roster and we assigned all of the leaders members to call our members, just check in with them, see what needs are out there for them. And then we matched up the leaders with some of the members to pray for them. And so every week, at least once a week at a minimum, our leadership, along with the deacons and deaconess, their responsibility is to ensure that every single member in our church, they're touched, so that we can get an understanding of the human capital within our ministry that they are taken care of, because it's a wonderful thing to take care of everybody else on the outside. But if your own folk are bleeding, it's very off-putting to your members that you expect to continue to sow and to give and to tithe, because the truth of the matter is they could take that somewhere else and support some other ministry that they feel like they're being drawn to. And so we have to stay active. We have to stay engaged. We have to be creative and innovative in how we connect to our members. Because at the end of the day, when I close my service, I offer Christ to everyone. I put up the prayer of salvation. I put up scripture to them. I share with them the understanding of what that looks like. I offer them to be a virtual member, a V member, as I call it, because at the end of the day, we're all V members now. Yeah. So I offered that to them. And it's an amazing thing how people recognize that, you know what, we're all in this together. So I guess it's not a different thing that I'm a V member now versus what I would be if we were in the confines of the 4 walls. But the final thing I want to say to you, unlike probably all of you on this session, I'm in temporary space right now. And so for me, with being in temporary space where other people can rent the space is very concerning for me and my members. And so we have been actively for the last 6 months, actually long before this hit, we've been looking for space, because now my concern is, how can I control the sanitation to my specification to ensure that my members are safe? But even if I would go back 9 months before that, prophetically, the Lord had told me to create this campaign called Stay Woke, Not Broke. And it really was an opportunity for my members to get their credit straight, to get their finances in order. We read Michelle Singletary's book from the Washington Post on kingdom principles of saving money. And for that period of time, our members started paying their bills off, paying bills on time, catching up with debt. And little did I know God was preparing us for such a time as this. And I thank the Lord that I can say that there's not been one member, and we check it. We make certain that if there's any need for benevolence, that we got it. Even though we're still paying for rent in a place that we can't sit in and occupy right now, and not one member. And I thank the Lord for that. You know, the word says, I've never seen the righteous forsaken, nor his seed begging bread. And I thank the Lord that we're his seed, that we don't have to beg for anything. And so God has made provision, and I'm grateful. I'm sorry to go off and on and on and on and on, but I'm grateful for that.
You know, I think Dr. Zena have brought up some really, really good points and topics. I'm going to bring in Dr. Sylvia Reed in Los Angeles, California right now. We're going to have Pastor Bridget to stay on the line with us 1 second. I got to bring in my friend. They get to turn the volume down. She's the legacy of the late Dr. Benjamin Reed. You see it all over her face and everything that she do and say. And before we go into our next subject, because I know people are going to talk about it, but what suggestions as a leader in ministry that you can give to the people to stay connected during this time, staying connected at this time? All right, we can't. You got to unmute your mic. Let me bring her out and bring her back in. Are you there, Reed?
Okay.
Are you there? We trying to get her connected to her microphone. She's not connected. We're going to try one more time. Can you hear me, Dr. Reed? Okay, we can't hear you. We're going to have you reconnect with us real quick. Are you there now? She's not there now. We're going to give her one more attempt. We're going to bring her out.
Are you there now?
I'm there now. Dr. Reed, what advice could you give to the people out there in preparing? What can they do now to stay connected in ministry? How important is it?
Well, the first of all, I need to say hello to all these amazing women that have meant so much to me. The first thing about staying connected is to realize that we are actually a body of believers. It is so easy, especially in mega ministry, for you to get consumed with the group you either oversee or you're a part of, and you really don't take the time to engage with other people in the ministry. So I was taught that you stop and engage with people. You look at them, you hear them, you listen to them, and then realize that every member of the body has value and that you need them sometimes more than they need you. And so I was raised that you don't refer to the church members as those people. I said that one time, and my father said, sweetheart, those people are paying your daddy's salary. And so you have to be intentional in your engagement with people.
You know, you oversee volunteer ministry in Los Angeles as well. What do you see different going back?
What do I see different going back?
As we begin to open up the
When
church.
we return?
Yes.
It's been really interesting in that this time of physical separation has actually drawn us closer together. We have had increased participation in our remote meetings because a lot of our more seasoned people can participate because they don't have to worry about the logistics or even the fear factor of coming out at night. And so they've gotten their kids and their grandkids to help them with the technological piece of it. And we have just been able to be more engaged. People are just inherently more relaxed. And so it's really been a blessing. And actually, many of the groups, in fact, most of the groups are asking to continue the remote meetings and not necessarily have to come back to the physical church for the meeting.
Well, you know what? That's heavy. And that's deep. A lot of pastors have said that their church has membership has grown, offerings is up during this whole time period. And I'm like, are you kidding me? But before I go there, I gotta say, I know Dr. Ellis has to go to her next meeting, but let me address this issue real quick. And I'm gonna let Dr. Ellis say her part, and then we're gonna go to Dr. Zena. I'm trying to say the right way to say it. I guess there is no way to say it. What's going on in America right now? Now, what are you telling your leadership? We not, it's not like we blind, we can't see what's happening. A Mississippi mayor said on my notes, he said, I saw the video and I ain't seen nothing wrong with it.
Wow.
Oh my, Dr. Sabrina, I know Dr. Sylvie, she ready to go in there right now, but I'm gonna let Dr. and then we're gonna bring in Dr. Dana to come back. But Dr. Sabrina, what do you say to what's happening? Then I'm gonna go to Dr. Zena.
Well, I saw a post recently that I agreed with, that racism never really went away. It's now just being filmed, and we can see it. It's more prevalent because we can see it all over the world at one time. It was a scary time. I have been so emotional for the last few days. It's almost as if anything just like sent me to tears. And I know it's just a pileup of everything. The pandemic, people that I've known for forever dying of COVID-19. And then this young man dies an unnecessary death. He doesn't die from COVID-19. He died because there was a careless police officer, and I'm saying it nicely by saying careless, but who just ended his life unnecessarily. The truth is, for me, what I'm really trying to work through right now is how to be more active and do something more than say something. And the reason it's a struggle is because of the context. We all know that there are certain groups and certain denominations where, as it relates to church, who have been more out front where civil rights are concerned. And I'm at the point now, I've done the praying. Praying just is not enough. I get the effectual fervent prayer of the righteous availeth much. I know all of that. But at this point, our faith without works is dead. And so if we have we have a responsibility to the poor, to the oppressed, and those who don't have a voice. And we as a church, I believe, have to do better. The assignment is not to certain parts of the body. It's the entire body's responsibility to look after those who are oppressed and don't have a voice. So for me personally, I am really struggling and really trying to hear the voice of God for what it is I am supposed to do. I'm not trying to condemn anybody else, but I feel like as a person and as an individual from my context, we've not done enough. And I think that our voices have got to be heard, and our sons, our spiritual sons, and even our daughters need to know that we're going to do more than just talk about this within our four walls. We can't even get into our four walls right now. So we have an opportunity to use this same platform that we're on tonight to get our voices out there, and then see what it is we can actually be doing, reaching out to our community leaders and really taking a lead. We're the church, and that's what we're supposed to do. And I think that as we do more, the church does more, that there may be some resolve to this without the violence.
You know, Dr. Sabrina, give out your information before you go. We're going to go to New York and bring out Pastor Patina. So let everybody know how they can reach you, how they can find you. Talk about your new book real quick before we go to New York.
Well, I'm at Pentecostal Church of Christ in Cleveland, Ohio, and the website there is pcccleveland.org, or my personal website, sabrinajellis.com. You can find the books and anything else that I have there. But I appreciate the support, and I appreciate you, Brother Steve, for considering me for tonight. And I appreciate all of these lovely ladies who have participated and allowed me to be a part of this.
Thank you so much, Dr. Ellis. We appreciate you. God bless you. We'll see you when I come home for the holidays.
Absolutely. Take care.
We want to thank Dr. Sabrina. Now, as we go, Pastor Patina, let's talk about this real quick, Pastor Patina. I mean, you in New York.
Yes, sir. New York. Not only am I in New York, I'm in Long Island, New York, which is a little bit different from Queens, Manhattan, and Brooklyn. It's not quite as populated. However, just 2 blocks from where our church is, there was a peaceful gathering. And people were actually, I have pictures of it, people were actually laying on the ground with their hands behind their back. And fortunately enough, the police didn't get involved because it was a peaceful event. I'm also the mother of an 18-year-old who he plays basketball at a private prep school in Greensboro, North Carolina. So as a mother, I have serious concerns about my son being a young Black man in America. I often encourage him. I try to give him the life skills that he needs, that when he's driving my car, that he's not to reach for anything, that everything is to be on the visor. Let them see your hands at all times. And I have great anxiety. As much as I pray, I have great anxiety. My son is out now with my car, and I have great anxiety about him being out, especially in this climate. But I think, as Pastor Ellis said, I think as the church, we have to be more proactive and be more present, not just in the church, not just of the things of God, but in the community. We need to have a relationship with the police. We need to have a relationship with the senators and with the governors and with those in town hall. You know, they need to know us outside the 4 walls of this church. And then on top of that, in addition to teaching them biblical principles, we need to teach our people how to get out there and vote. You know, if nothing changes, nothing changes. So we, as the church, we have to be balanced, and we need to teach our people, let's get out into the community. Yes, we want people to be saved. We want them to be set free. We want them to be delivered. But on the same token, we got to live in this world. So that means that you're going to have to be present and make some real decisions. And the only way we can make wise decisions is by being educated as to what's really going on. And as Pastor Ellis said, my son said to me today, he's like, I can't believe that this is going on. And I said, son, this has been going on for centuries. We just didn't have Facebook and phones with cameras on it. This has been happening all along. This is nothing new. It's the same old. Matter of fact, it's probably even worse now than it was before, because before they would physically kill you. Now they're mentally and emotionally killing. I can't even begin to look at the video of Brother Floyd. I can't. Every time it comes on TV, I change the channel because it's just so difficult for me to watch. But the reality is, there are thousands of Brother Floyds that have died at the hands of police officers that we've never heard of.
Doctor, I'm gonna go to, before I go to Los Angeles, to Dr. Reed, Dr. Zena. The Amish people are marching now. So this is on the word, like, how'd they find out? This thing has gotten bigger. I think it's beyond George Floyd right now because people send out a message, Dr. Zena. They saying something out there. You've been in politics. You know politics. You know what to say. Let's march. Let's peaceful march. Before I bring on Dr. Reed, because I know she's ready for us. She got something. But Dr. Zena, what do we do? What do we do?
Well, you know, I was watching a couple of videos today. One in particular was a 31-year-old brother, and he was trying to calm down a 40-plus-year-old brother who was screaming, "Forget it. We're sick and tired of this. You know, we're tired of the kumbayas, all of these things that we've been doing systemically over and over again every time there's, you know, an outbreak or an outcry." And the 31-year-old brother turned to a 16-year-old young man and said, "Listen, I marched 4 years ago and we did it the way that we did it." He said, "But you're 16 and 10 years from now, you're going to be doing the same thing. But I beg of you to find ways to do it different." And that's where we are right now. You know, we're in a time where we know what marching looks like. I mean, I'm a baby of the 60s. I'm a baby boomer. I know what it was like when my mom was sitting at lunch counters. And, you know, I've seen it over and over again, being on the executive board of the National Council of Negro Women during Dr. Height's era. And when you look at society today, it's not just the Black man that has to be afraid, but it's all of us. You know, I watch police officers pepper spray Congresswoman Beatty, another assemblywoman in New York, beating women in the face. I watched, and many of you may have seen this, an 89-year-old woman who the police officers were coming to her house to ascertain or arrest her great-grandson. And she literally could barely walk, came outside with her cane and dropped her body and draped over her great-grandson just to spare his life from the police officers. We're in that day and time. And you know, I cried so hard over the last 2 nights asking God for a word to say on Facebook, because we all have platforms, and I felt that it was incumbent upon me to have something to say. And I even called my publisher and I said, "You're a wordsmith. Help me to articulate my heart right now so that I'm not speaking out of anger, out of fear, out of angst, or any of those things," because we recognize, we all know the Bible says to be anxious for nothing, but in all things by prayer, supplication, and thanksgiving make our requests made known. And the peace of God that surpasses all. So we know scripture, but this right here, the emotions will cause you to either get quiet enough and centered enough to hear from God so that you don't say things out of turn because we are leaders, or it will have you splattering things that further hurt the cause of what we're trying to do here. And so I'm a lobbyist by trade. I worked in the Clinton White House. I've been in politics for over 35 years. And so we know how to wordsmith stuff. But at the end of the day, where we are right now, we have to have some mechanisms set in place in our own communities. Yes, we can go and lobby Congress and get them to write legislation. Yes, we can move Trump out of the White House and bring Biden in, or whatever we choose to do in November. Yes, we can get people to go and fill out the census forms so that we can be counted, so that more resources come into our communities. But we have to, as men and women of God, seek the Lord's face for divine intel and understanding, divine strategy, so that we can help our neighbors, our sons and our daughters to come up with strategies, not so that the violence doesn't cause us to go back to desolate communities of burned down buildings and services that are no longer in existence for us because of what we lose. And yes, all of this is not our kids doing. Some of this is really behind the scenes stuff that
Right.
people are sending folk in
Right,
and
right.
instigating the situation and making it look like we're all in this together. And the truth of the matter is, some of them are coming in and they are doing what they're doing to incite our emotions and have us believing that they're all in this together with us. Now, y'all know I'm telling the truth here.
You're telling the truth.
That all of this is not just our folk, and it's not just folk coming for the purpose of the good of the order of getting this systemic racism and bigotry and separatism and divide and egotism and all this stuff that we have to face. It starts with us. And I asked the Lord, and I'm going to get out of your way on this. Because I was trying to figure out what to say on Facebook, what to say on my Word Network show yesterday, so that I could encourage the hearts of the people. And the Lord woke me up this morning because I was really struggling with this women of God. And I said, Lord, what should and could I say to the people of God? And because I was feeling like almost pressured that I didn't have what I felt that I should have said to the people, right? And the Lord said, everybody has a role in this. Everybody, and we cannot allow folk to cause us to feel guilty if they don't see us on the front line, because our prayers are on the front line. And then the Lord reminded me of the book of Nehemiah. He said, everybody had a role. And when he brought that to my remembrance, I was thanking him because I felt like, man, I'm not operating in my role. I'm a consultant for the NAACP, senior advisor to the president of the NAACP, helping them with strategic alliances and working with the faith community and working with the corporate and nonprofit community. And I'm sitting here saying, what is my role in this right here, God? And he said, we all have a role. He said, your mandate is prayer. You call prayer, call it forth, galvanize the people. Everybody has prayer calls. We recognize that. But it's never too much to have prayer. And so I don't know what your roles are, women of God, but I know what my assignment is. And my assignment is commit to enforcing the power of strategic prayers. And so I don't know if I answered everything. I know I went on the tangent.
Good, good.
In this thing, but
I want, before I go to Dr. Wanda, I got to go to Dr. Reed. We tired of talking. Now I was done. Last night, Dr. Reed, she was at her house. Everybody was in LA. They put LA on lockdown at 8:00 last night because people was looting in Los Angeles, but they was looting in Beverly Hills, in Santa Monica, and on Melrose. But they weren't looting in South Central. Now, to add that to what Dr. Zena said, you're right about people coming in. Tomorrow night, we're going to be live to Minneapolis. We're putting that show together. We're going to have the people live from Minneapolis tomorrow night. And they told me, Steve, it ain't us. It's people that they brought in to create the ruckus. She said, out of everybody that got arrested, they have tagged their church. They did this to their church. They did that. She said, everybody they arrested are from out of town. Dr. Sylvia, you tired of talking.
Yes. Can everyone hear me?
Yes.
Yes.
Okay. So I shared in a Facebook post yesterday because I kept trying to move to a space of grace and understanding and turn the other cheek.
Yeah.
Well, I'm out of cheeks. I don't have no more cheeks to turn. And I shared in a Facebook post, and Dr. Wanda and Brother Steve can attest to this. My mother was probably the sweetest, kindest, gentlest, most soft-spoken person you ever wanted to meet. And she would say, okay, Ben Jr., I need you to do this. Sylvia, we don't do that here. Angela, I need you to shut that down. And at times we would get a little lax with adhering to the stated rules at 8251. And then when we heard these words, you know what? I'm tired of talking. That meant corporal punishment. The avenging angel was on the way. I am tired of talking. I'm tired of explaining to you why you can't use the N word. I'm tired of explaining to you why it's offensive for you to touch our hair. I'm tired of showing you my ticket when I'm sitting in first class on an airplane. And the list goes on and on and on.
Wow.
And so for me, as I was watching the different news pundits, and the recurring theme was when they found every Black person that they could find to bring on. Now we have a voice. Now that everybody's out there nutting up, now they want to hear what we have to say. And every news pundit ended the interview with, well, what would you say to your community? What would you say to your people? What would you do to get them to calm down? And I feel that's the wrong question, because I don't have an answer to a problem you created.
Yeah.
It is not my responsibility to fix your stuff. And several newscasters were talking about the innocence of America has been ripped, and you know, people are finally seeing this evil. America is over 200 years old. It's time for America to grow up. And I am no longer willing to serve as wet nurse to grown people in America. So I'm tired of talking. You wouldn't listen to our conversations. You don't come to our churches until 3 weeks before the election. And even then, you don't stay for the full service. You don't take our calls. You don't return our emails. So we're tired of talking. Now, our role is, here's the biggest mistake I think we've made in the last 10, 15 years. The day President Obama got the Democratic nomination for president, we should have been working on his successor. Because the night of President Obama's inauguration, there was a group of clear people meeting in DC, plotting how they were going to take back the White House and the country. So we have to stop celebrating milestones. We don't get to celebrate until the battle is officially won. I am tired of taking the same hill generation after generation after generation. So in the Black community, we have to shift our priorities. I'm not going to shout over you getting a new car until you help to put a congressperson, a representative, a sheriff, a police chief, a supervisor in office that looks like us. We have talked enough. We have talked to our kids at 8, 9, 10, 11 years old. This is how you respond when you're stopped by the police. We have talked to our kids about go to school, get an education. We have talked to our kids about how to carry themselves. We've talked to our kids about values and investing. We're tired of talking. So now that we have your attention, you need to reframe the question. The question is, what do we need to do to fix the problem we created? We learned how to riot from white America.
Yeah.
The Boston Tea Party was nothing but a riot. We learned how to pillage and loot from America. Y'all raped Mother Africa. So you cannot pick and choose which of your behaviors you want us to emulate. You don't get to pick out certain letters out of this alphabet soup
Come
that
on
you
here.
have cooked up in your kitchen. So I'm tired of talking.
You know, before I go to Dr. Wanda, I'm gonna just drop the mic right there. Just drop the mic because
yeah,
I gotta like because Dr. Zena has to go to her next meeting. But before she goes, I want Dr. Zena to give us a little closing word, and then we're gonna go to Dr. Wanda. But Dr. Reed, while your mother was sick, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 paramedics came to your mama's house, and while some was helping your mama, the other 2 was looking around the house asking you what?
They asked Auntie Wanda, they were standing in the foyer. My mother is on a stripper. We were blessed to purchase Dr. Wanda's legacy home. My father purchased it as a gift to my mom. And my mother is laying on a stretcher, and they are attending to her. And 2 white EMTs were literally walking around the house. They walked down into the living room. They looked out. We had a huge picture window that overlooked the city, and came and asked me, so who lives here with you? Who opened the door?
Wow.
What do you do for a living? I work. Now, can you do what you say you do for a living, which is to tend to my mother? And so when you experience that, when every encounter is either questioned or negated, then you reach a point where you're tired of talking. And so even as people have been saying, we express our anger and our frustration, but then it's always couched with, but there's good white people out there. I know that. I'm not an idiot. I know that. But this is not a time for me to expend any energy in making sure you're okay. I'm not going to apologize for the massa being tired from coming back from the slave auction. So our energy needs to go toward systemic change in our expectations, in our demands, and we have to move the goalposts of non-negotiables. So I need you to show up at a little storefront on Hoover, just like you show up at Los Angeles, because you cannot rule, govern, judge, police as a visitor. When you come to my house, you're coming as a visitor. As a visitor, I am being gracious and allowing you to come in my space as a guest. But you don't need to come in my house as a guest and start telling me how to run my house, what should or should not be in my refrigerator, how my couch and my coffee table need to be set. So we have for generations put up with being governed in our communities by guests. So until you become a part of my community, which means I see you in my community and you are engaging with us as a community, then I'm going to need you to take your idealistic self someplace and go sit down until I call for you.
Come on, Doctor. I know Dr. Zena got to get ready to get, but what do you want to say to that comment, Doctor? Because you had a couple of points before. I'll let me know you got to close out.
You talking to me?
Yes, sir. Dr. Zena.
Oh, I'm so sorry. I was so immersed in what she was saying. I just lost myself. You could have dropped the mic and closed the whole service on this one. But, we've been talking about the whole notion, and she said it best that we are tired of talking. And that's what the NAACP has been really pushing. They've run a campaign, they're pushing a campaign called We Are Done Dying. And it literally, when the whole scenario took place in Georgia, and it was such I didn't think my heart could be cut any further until here comes Minneapolis. And so sitting on the phone, and the word, was spouted out or spurted out from Jamal Watkins, we are done dying. The COVID, our community is hit the most by COVID-19. We're done dying. People are disproportionately are checked out. And I have the question, and maybe it's just me, if they are saying that, many are saying that the disease increases by cold air, right? Or it survives longer in cold air. Well, why do we use respirators that push cold air? Ooh. Can somebody think about that for a moment?
Wow.
I'm not making any accusations about any wrongdoings. But that's been in my mind. That's been in my mind. Wow. And I remember a friend from California, her mother didn't want to go on the respirator. And when she finally acquiesced and did it, she died. Not saying that the respirators are killing people, so don't, quote me on any of this. But think about that. Please, somebody think about that. That's real. Mm-hmm. And so we're done dying out of ignorance, out of malpractices, out of brutality. All of those things encompass the notion that we can no longer keep accepting death as our portion by the hands of malpractices, and ignorance, and all of that encompasses what we are dealing with in the disenfranchisement of how we are handled and treated in this country. And that's not just for Blacks, but it's for Browns. It's for, all of those who listen. I was, as a consultant, without healthcare, having to pay cash because the way that the system is set up, if they ask you if you have diabetes, if they ask you, do you have any respiratory issues, sleep apnea, and now we got to look at the insurance companies. Try to go and get life insurance today. The first question they will ask you is not, do you have diabetes? Have you ever had cancer? Have you ever had a stroke? Have you ever had a heart attack? The number one question they ask now, do you have upper respiratory disease? And have you ever had COVID? I tried when I was getting a second policy a month ago, and they slide it in real quietly. Hey, by chance, Zena, do you have any kind of upper respiratory challenges? And it was like a eureka moment of saying, wow, this is what we're going to now face systemically when it comes to discrimination. So here's what I'm saying. If I got COVID, what would make me not want to self-medicate myself and heal so that I'm not on the CDC record? Wow. And then I'm discriminated because I have the title now of Corona. Just something to think about. That's all I'm saying. This stuff is really deeper than the surface stuff that we're fighting and arguing over and crying over and frustrated over. But we really got to dig deeper and spiritually map out by prayer these landmines that the enemy has set up in the spirit realm, in the underworld, to cause us to operate in ignorance, out of panic, and not prayer. That's all I'm going to say. I'm going to get out your way. I thank the Lord for this honor to sit on this dais with all of these great, great women of God. And I really hope that we can do this again soon. And the only reason why I have to go is because I'm a caregiver to my daddy for this moment. And so I have to go and manage my business.
Amen. We want to thank Dr. Zena. Let us know where we can reach you, because I'm going to have Dr. Wanda come in to say some words and give us a closing prayer soon. But Dr. Zena, where can we reach you? And we're excited about the new project you got coming out too. It's going to be Dr. Zena something.
Well, we're starting a spiritual boot camp starting next Monday, because we need to get folk reared up to know how to understand the protocols of prayer and the potency of the power of those protocols when you operate properly. So I'm on Facebook at Zena Pierre. I'm on Instagram at Zena Pierre. And we're just building a new website. So it's still in its shell stages at zenapierre.org. And so, but I would love to stay connected to all of you. And to really sit at your feet. I'm a baby in this. I've been in ministry for 20 years, but I've only served as senior pastor for 2. And, you know, I'm always looking for people to glean from and to be able to share ideas. So
God bless you, Dr. Zena. We're going to see you soon. Tell your day hello for us. Dr. Wanda, what do you say to all? Now, I'm not going. Don't jump on me, because I'm about to end the broadcast. Don't jump on me when I'm getting ready to say. But you've seen this for decades, Dr. Wanda. You've seen the Dr. Martin. You've seen the Malcolm. You've seen it. It ain't changed.
Well, I thought about while these beautiful ladies were talking, the time that I got a telephone call in Los Angeles from my father here in Stockton, who served as a bishop and as well as a senior pastor and an educator. And he told me the discovery that many of the social issues in Stockton with whites and blacks and Hispanics were caused by the underground KKK and what was that other group? John Birch Society. Said he prayed and he asked God, what can I do to be a part of flipping this? And the Lord told him to train and apply to become a police chaplain, somewhere where you can be up close and near those that are backing up this mess and be a voice. And he did that until he died. And I think some of us need to know that you have more space now in your calendars, because you can't have meetings in your church. Go down and become a part of these police and sheriff departments, a person with a voice, and ask God to give you information that only God could give you.
Yes.
To reveal.
Yes.
And speak up and say, no, that's not what happened. What happened was, I remember the times that police would do dirty things here in Stockton and then and my dad would call them and say, you're going to apologize to these young men. And they say, okay, tell them to come by the office. He said, no, you come by my house where they're going to be. He forced that. And I think we now have enough women and men get involved in the police department. Get involved in the sheriff department. And you don't have to have a 40-hour week. Be a chaplain, be an associate with a voice, and speak up for what you see.
You know, Dr. Wanda, let me let Pastor Bridget and Dr. Reed give closing words. I'm going to let Dr. Wanda end us in prayer. And I want to thank everybody. Share this video, get the word out. And for those of you who have been a blessing to our Cash App, thank you so much for those who helped our Cash App ministry, because it helps me help others. It helps me to go help pay for people's dinners, help buy gas for people, help do what I can. For those of you out there watching our broadcast, if you want to sew into our Cash App, I'll put the information right there on the screen. Somebody said, Steve, I can't see it. Post it. Let me post it. Like Dr. Juan would say, make it bigger. on the screen. For Cash App Ministry, help us out there. And I'm gonna let Dr. Wanda do a closing prayer. She's not gonna raise the offering because if she do, then amen in Jesus' name. But I'm gonna let her do the closing prayer. But let me
I need to pray for you, Brother Steve.
She get started already. So let me go to Pastor Bridget out there, and I think what I'm gonna do is today, if you sow a seed into our Cash App ministry, inbox me on Facebook or even one of my group pages today and tomorrow, that I'm gonna bless you with a vacation getaway to Las Vegas or Hawaii when this pandemic is lifted. I've got 15 trips that I can bless people with right now. I'm gonna send you a link to a certificate, but you got to inbox me. Don't sow and say I ain't get. You got to sow and inbox me so I can make sure I'll be a blessing to you. Inbox it to my Facebook, to my inbox, my like page. I'll get it to me, and I'm gonna bless you with that certificate that you can be a blessing right away. Whatever you sow, just it helps us out to do things we got to do. Pastor Bridget, what closing words do you want to say right now before we end our broadcast?
We've got to stay prayerful, as the other pastors have said. Thank you so much for allowing me this opportunity to commune with such awesome, powerful women of God. But we've also got to keep teaching. We've got to keep teaching. And that's one thing that concerns me. Grandma's not grandma anymore. And so you've got grandmas who are younger. Things are different. And so the priorities have changed. So when you've got, and I'm not trying to shoot down moms or anything like that. I'm just saying it is what it is. When you have, real quick, you have grandmas who they now want to get the party on because they had the children really young. You know what I mean? It's a different time. And so with that attitude, somehow there's a gap in the teaching. And I think that would help if we just go back to really, I'm not saying that we're not. We have a lot of people who are, but we have also a bunch of families where that component is it's just not there. It's just not there. And so I think it was Pastor Bertina who mentioned how she's teaching her son and talking to him and conversing and saying, this is what you do when you drive in my car. Be careful. Watch how you handle yourself. Watch what you say. Those things are very, very important. But again, I just want to say thank you so much for this. This was wonderful and needed. Thank you so much.
I hope you share it, Pastor Bridget, so you can let your friends and viewers watch it as well on your page.
Yeah.
Dr. Reed, as I say, I miss Sunday morning walking in the office, getting some eggs and some sausage, and then I will look over and make sure Bishop Blake is great. God bless our leader, Bishop Charles Edward Blake, our pastor, and then I would come over to Dr. Sylvia and say, what you got to say this week? So I get to do it virtually, Dr. Sylvia. What closing words that you want to say? Thank you for sharing it, and the ones who are watching at Sylvia's table, thank you so much for being a part of our broadcast. What do you want to say, Dr. Sylvia?
I am tired of talking, but I'm not hopeless. My hope and my faith is still rooted and grounded in, as believers, we can call forth things on earth, and we can decree and declare and be backed up by heaven how we want this world that God has given us dominion over. That's what we often forget. God has given us dominion over the world. And so I think it is time for us to couple seasoned wisdom with fresh legs. So we can, as the Song of Zion says, that ye may tell it to generations following. We need to pour our wisdom into fresh legs, fresh eyes, fresh ears, fresh mouths, and let them to continue to run with the hope. We are still trotting the path that is littered with blood of the slaughtered. However, we do have weapons, and our weapons are not guns and firebombs and looting. We have to get back to organizing, going to a police station, stationing angelic forces around a police station, and decreeing and declaring that every police officer that comes out of this station is going to act correct and with respect. And if they refuse to and harden their heart, we need God to take them out. We have gotten so sophisticated that we don't believe in spiritual guerrilla warfare anymore. I grew up seeing the saints pray crack houses close, and pray liquor stores close, and pray pool halls. But I grew up seeing folks walk in church drunk, loaded, high, and God sobered them up in an instant. So after we get through marching and venting and all of that, we need to go back to walking into the authority. We need to go back, go to Smart Final, buy up all the oil they got and start slinging oil and decreeing and declaring, this is how my house is going to flow. My block is going to flow. My neighborhood is going to flow. So,
Dr. Wanda Davis, she's going to give us some closing comments and thoughts, and then we'll let her close us out in the word of prayer. Thank y'all for blessing us today. Thank y'all for coming on, and we want you to share.
Thank you.
We need to get I hope to get at least 100 views on this video to get the word out and share it. Dr. Wanda Davis.
Thank you, Brother Steve, for inviting us, and thank you for all of the beautiful ladies, godly women that shared. In our praying, let us pray for the senior pastors, male and female, and their families.
Yes, yes.
And that the Lord will cover them and watch them and protect them too. And then let us ask God for direction. What do we do once we get up off of our knees?
Yes.
Where do we go? What do we say? How do we act? And then once he tells us, fortify ourselves in faith to be obedient. And it may not be easy what God asks you to do. Just as when you first started pastoring and ministering as ladies, it wasn't always easy. But I tell you this, if we obey God and do what he tells us to do regarding all of this, things will turn around in a way where it will be just phenomenal. And years later, you'll have people on the show saying, such and such happened in our country. And there was a group of women started praying, started trusting God, started standing on his word. And we watched people repent and turn around.
Yes.
And I believe that. And I thank God for the vision he's given you, Brother Steve. I ask God to supply all of your needs according to his riches and glory.
Oh, yes.
And bless and protect all of us. Sylvia, you've been precious down to the years. I call her Timothea, and she calls me Pauline for Paul and Timothy. Yes, sir.
Before you close out in prayer, what words of wisdom do you want to give to these single parent mothers out there who's got to talk to their young men?
First of all, get some medicine and don't have no more. Yes, ma'am. You would not have such a problem with single mothers and children if they would, can I just be me?
Please.
Please. Close your legs and don't have any more children so you can invest in the ones you already have.
Shando.
It's ridiculous. We've got to stop. I had told the Lord I was going to behave. And promised that.
Well, can we do another broadcast when you don't tell the Lord you're going to behave, Dr.
Oh my God. But we also need to meet with the ladies. Quit being afraid if you tell the truth that you're going to lose your people.
Right.
That's true.
Truth sets free. But the only truth that can set your people free is the truth they know and believe. So you got to speak it out.
Yeah.
Tell them the truth. Find information that will bless them. And even if you live anywhere near Los Angeles, again, at West Angeles, there is a chaplain on the Los Angeles Police Force, been with them for years, who's honored and loved and respected by them, Yvonne Gibson Johnson. Ask her for information and handouts that you can sit down with the mothers that have these sons. And it's not just sons. Did you hear them say they killed that woman?
Yes.
In Houston, was it? That was a female.
Yeah.
And so we've got to get information on how to talk to all of our children, but first how to talk to ourselves, because our kids are learning many things from watching us.
Yes.
Yes, ma'am.
And I can't be out in the parking lot cussing the police out and acting a fool and leading the prayer meeting tomorrow night.
Absolutely. You sure right.
What is mama doing? Don't do that. And don't tell them how to be true and committed to God. And I'm slipping men in and out the front and back door every night. Don't do that. We as women, if we're going to be women of God, we're going to have to be women in God.
Yes. Yes.
Is it easy?
Yes, indeed.
No. We have the same desires. As young as I am, I have the desires for men in my life, not men, but a male person, but not no half-saved, wannabe jive turkey. But until God does that, I got to behave so that young mothers and young women, when they see me, they'll say, I want to ask her about something. I was telling my sister-in-law, there was a brother that was talking to me when I was going through my divorce. And he was going through a divorce. Steve probably remembers this. And he called me one day and he said, we were talking so long on the phone about the Lord, about life, about our families, till the batteries were going out. He said, why don't we catch a train and go to Santa Barbara tomorrow? He said, we can have lunch and then we can come on back and we can just talk. I said, oh, this is wonderful. And then he said, oh, and I love you in pink and gold. So maybe you could wear something pink and gold. So I was like, oh God, it's getting ready to happen. I hung the phone up to the Lord and said, what do you think you're doing? I said, getting on the train with my friend and going to Santa Barbara to the ocean to have lunch. He said, no, you're not. I said, I'm not. He asked me. He said, your divorce is not final and his divorce is not final.
Wow.
Till the divorce is final, there's life still in that relationship. And he said, I've chosen you as one of the few that you know in your circle to show other women how to live. And I remember I was fussing with God. Well, I said, I'm tired of showing them. You get somebody else. It was like that little girl told her mama that day, you're not the boss of me. I could just see God saying, you're not the boss of me. If you're going to work for me, you're going to do what I say. And I was weeping and crying. And I called him back and I said, we can't go to Santa Barbara tomorrow. He said, oh, you got to counsel with somebody or you got to go in your office? I said, no. I said, the Lord told me that we could not do that. But back then, I didn't have anyone mentoring me as a woman in ministry to tell me how to tell a man that. So by me only telling him that much, he thought I was using God to break the relationship off. I wasn't. And it wasn't 60 days later, he was engaged and marrying someone else. I was devastated. And the Lord said, well, when you're going to tell somebody what I say, tell them all that I say so they will understand. So we as women, and some of you are young, you may still be in your 50s and standing in a pulpit, but you're the mother, if you're the pastor, you're the mother of that house. Just like when it's a male pastor, he's the father of that house. So whatever God gives you to do, be thorough when you share it. Be clear so that they understand your assignment, and let them know there's no assignment greater than the one God can give you.
Dr. Wanda, real quick, because you done started it, but I'm gonna have to end it because my mama said hi. My mama's watching right now. You see it right there. My mama's commenting right now. And Dr. Wanda, for those women out there who've been divorced or dealing with past, how do you recover from that hurt? That was devastating. The saints say, oh, seek the Lord. Get on your knees and fast 40 days. And sometimes, like Dr. Sylvia said, sometimes you just get tired of talking. How do you deal with that recovery to come back? And
thank God we now have many licensed and trained family counselors and therapists. Find one and go till you get it all out. Because first of all, you're not ready to be with another person until you get rid of that. Because you will hurt the new person because of the damage the old one did. I experienced doing that. I didn't know it. I didn't know that stuff was still in me. And if they would say something that even sounded similar, I said, wait a minute, you got the wrong one. I wasn't even that kind of a person. And I said, why am I acting a fool? And the men would be looking at me like, what is she? Because I wasn't healed.
Wow.
You just have to give God permission to take your heart and heal it.
I'm going to let you close us out in prayer, Dr. Wanda, on that note.
Our Father, which art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. God, we have met and joined this night because we are interested in your will being done in the lives of us as women in ministry and in our communities, our cities and states, with all the problems with Corona and also problems with the racial issues. God, we want you to speak and speak clear and loudly to us. Help us shut down every other voice but yours and give us instructions. And Lord, some of us, we need journals and notebooks so we can write down so that we don't get so busy we forget what you told us. And then give us the courage to stand tall and strong and be obedient so we can be a part of making a positive change in our communities, in our families. Give the mothers strength to parent their daughters and sons. Give the fathers strength. God, give the pastors strength to lead their churches and hold their families together and supply their needs, even as they're concerned about their people's needs, supply their needs. In the name of the Lord Jesus, Lord, speak to Sylvia and give her what you want her to do. Once she expels all of that, you gave her a very brilliant mind, and you can give her thoughts and ideas that can help so many. And we thank you for that. We thank you for that. We don't have to cuss anybody out. We have to worship you and sit before you quietly. And in all our ways acknowledge you, and we know you will direct our path. Yes. Bless Brother Steve, Lord, as he continues to use his TV shows to be a platform for other people. Thank you for his mother and father that birthed him and put him in you so that now he can just go from city to city and place to place and not even have to move out of his home and bring help to men and women all over this nation. In the name of the Lord Jesus, we praise you. Amen.
Amen.
Amen. All right. Thank y'all so very much for joining us. People are still on Facebook. They're sharing. And thank you for all the wonderful comments. Thank you for all the wonderful suggestions. We got to go, y'all, because as I said, tonight's my night to cook dinner. And it's out there in the freezer. So I got to heat it up. All right. So we thank you.
You better use one of those gift cards when you go to that restaurant and get you a to go.
All right, Dr. Wanda. All right.
I love you. Sylvia, I love you.
I love you too, Auntie Wanda. It was a pleasure meeting you, Pastor. God bless you.
Bless you. Likewise, I enjoyed you both. I did.
Thank you. God bless you.
All right. While they enjoying each other, watch the replay on Facebook and YouTube. God bless you. We'll see y'all again. Y'all take care.
Bye-bye.